Hi, and welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, where I talk to people in music about the nature of transformation and the intersection between philosophy, spirituality, psychology, and self-help. Today, my guest is Keta.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Me too. Keta is a charting songwriter as well as A&R.
Yes. All the things.
How is your morning? How's your day today?
Well, I am a single mother of a 5-pound puppy only for a week because my boyfriend ran away to Hawaii to open up for the group Surfaces, I think is what they're called. Which, good for him. I was unable to go, but our little fluff ball I was scrambling this morning, but I'm glad to be away from him. Our little monster.
Who's watching him now?
Oh, the Lord. The Holy Spirit.
He's in safe hands. The Holy Spirit.
Yes. He's learning to be alone. He does well, actually, on his own. I think when he's with my boyfriend or he wants to act crazy. Because I come home and everything's the way it was when I left.
Really? Fascinating. Okay. Well, blessings upon your child.
Yes, thank you. But I'm really happy to be here with you. How is your morning going?
My morning is good. I really look forward to these conversations because, so we met at a songwriting. Well, no, we didn't meet at a songwriting. No. But we really met at the songwriting.
Right. When
Our
did
souls
we meet?
met. I have no idea when we met, to be honest. No, Tiana's EP release party, right? Or did we meet before then?
Were you part of the songwriting camp before the one that just happened?
I was, but I don't think I met you then.
We may have met that far back, actually.
I was on day 2.
Yeah.
You definitely weren't in my room, though.
No, I was on day 2 as well. I think it probably was a...
Okay, so I was actually, I forget what it's called, but there's a word for this where people are constantly crossing paths, but they don't really actually meet until later. There's a word for it, but it has to do with vibrations, basically. Like, kind of like you're not really on the same vibration, and then all of a sudden when you are, you meet.
Interesting.
I forget there's a term
been
for
our
it.
Experience.
But I'm like,
in passing, it's like, hi, nice to visually see your face again. You seem cool. Bye.
Yeah.
And then, was at Roanne's single release party. I DM'd you afterwards. I was like, I hope you don't think I'm some evil person that just like is hating on you secretively or something.
No, I always assume everyone loves me.
I'm like, that's so good. That is a great practice. But I was like, I think you're really cool. And I feel like we would actually get along really well. And one day, when the stars align, I know we're just going to click. And it did.
I mean, in a way, I feel like that's kind of what manifestation is, low-key.
100%.
Like, you manifested our imminent meeting.
I was like, hey, just so you know.
We're going to be friends. And we're going to get along. Yeah. And we're going to
I'm going to be in your podcast, just so you know.
No, for real.
Yeah.
So, I guess last time we talked, when you were talking to me about your journey, one thing that I very much so resonated was the brainwash phase, where you went through something really difficult and you were kind of on your own and you just looked at, like, very similar people, I think, that you mentioned. It was like Lewis Howes,
Tony Robbins,
classic.
Jay Shetty.
Yes.
Some other, like...
Who else trained you? Tell me about all the people who trained you.
Oh, goodness. Well, so actually, and people either love him or hate him, okay?
Okay.
But my intro to the law of attraction was actually a pastor called, he has like a mega church in Texas. What is his name? And I'm not
Joel Osteen?
Joel Osteen. Okay. So he had this audio series called I Declare.
Okay.
And so back in the sticks in Indiana next to a cornfield, it really wasn't the sticks, okay, guys, but it was next to a cornfield. There were horses next to us, some little farm,
Not LA.
Not LA. Okay.
More rural, much more rural.
It's called Greenwood, Indiana.
Okay.
Apparently we're famous for our high school football team or something like that.
Great.
It's like adjacent to Indianapolis. There's no reason to go there.
Okay.
But we're like, me and my mom are there. And I have vivid memories of being in the kitchen and her playing these CDs back in 2012, 2013. And there were these I Declare, Joel Osteen series, not sermons, but it was like kind of like an audiobook, but different. And it was all about the law of attraction. But he flipped it in like a biblical sense.
What did he call it?
I Declare is what it was called, yeah. And I was 13, 14, and I was soaking it in like a sponge. And my mom what is it? Delulu is the Salulu is what people say now, like a little funny, dorky thing to say. But basically, my mom and I were doing that in Greenwood, Indiana, listening to these tapes. So that was my intro into law of attraction.
Interesting.
And then, she introduced me to Tony Robbins. Then that turned into what I consider the level up, or like, he's my top, which is Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza is like, I want to do his retreat so bad. I feel like.
Let me know if you go.
Let's go.
I really would love to go.
Let's go. Like transcendental meditation. I've done them, and my mom said like I had beams of like coming out of my body once.
When you were doing TM?
I was like one of those meditations where you don't think about anything other than water, obviously not real water, but water coming from the ground up, and you're supposed to like regulate your fight or flight and all the things, and it completely encapsulates your body within a room. And then you're just like, you lose feeling in your whole body. Like you don't realize you're in a chair. You don't feel your like limbs, like almost like you're floating in water. And so I did one of those meditations, and she was like, I took a picture of it and the light was like bouncing off of your face.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How old were you?
This was probably, when this happened, I was probably just turned 20.
Okay.
But I've been on Joe Dispenza since like probably 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So that I'm trying to, what is it? Decalcify my pineal gland. my what is it? Not honeycomb, pine cone.
Wait, explain what that is.
Well, they say it looks like a pine cone. A little tiny pine cone is what I've heard it looks like.
And what is it doing? Like, tell me what that process of decalcifying your
pineal
gland is. No?
Okay, now I'm going to sound like a cuckoo cuckoo. Sorry, Mom. I'm exposing myself to the world.
Pause about the cuckoo cuckoo thing. Because I feel like if you frame it as a cuckoo cuckoo thing, but like deep in your soul, do you really think that?
Well, this is real. This is legit, this
right?
is our anatomy.
So it's not cuckoo cuckoo. It's you're anticipating others' perceptions of you thinking that you're potentially cuckoo cuckoo, but really you're putting us on game.
Facts.
Right? So, and I just think about that because when you mentioned Joel Osteen, I also grew up being like, okay, yeah, I declare whatever. Like, I was very like Orthodox Christianity or nothing. And so, but now knowing more, like exploring more besides like kind of like traditional Christianity. And I'm like, wait.
There's like 35,000 denominations of Christianity.
That's insane.
Yeah, and
that's an insane fact.
Catholic Bibles have more books in them than other denominations of Christianity. True. And we don't take into account like the Torah.
Right.
Weird. I am a believer of Jesus Christ. I am a devout follower. When I talk about like law of attraction and manifesting and all of that, it really does align with me from a biblical sense. That's not just because my intro into it was from like someone in a pastoral position.
Sure.
But like in the Bible, it says that the power of life and death is in our tongue. And that to me is like stamp of approval. Like, don't speak life. I mean, don't speak death. Speak life. Please speak life. Don't speak death over yourself or others. And one day you'll meet my mom and you will be like, okay, this lady is the coolest lady. She's so artsy and so smart. and just I will sing my mom's praises from the hilltops forever and ever.
Oh, I love that.
She's my bestie. But
Cuckoo Cuckoo.
Cuckoo Cuckoo for sure. Woo woo, hoo hoo. We love it.
Wait, she is, or are you?
We are.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Wait, can we go back to what you're gonna say?
So I'm going to go back to that.
Okay, got it. Take us there.
So she homeschooled me and my 2 sisters.
Okay.
My whole life. And
damn,
when we would argue, no, you're stupid. Don't talk to your sister's water like that.
To your sister's water?
Because we're made up of, 70-something% water. And there's this scientific experiment that was done on the effects of our words on water. And they, under a microscope, and I have receipts, people. You can look it up. But under a microscope, it would be like, I hate you. And the water molecules would shift in these jagged pieces. And then I love you in different languages, right? I love you. And
different languages.
It would turn into these beautiful, like snowflake looking fractal pieces, right? Another similar, I think done by the same person, is sometimes people will do this fun experiment at home where they'll put rice in jars. Uncooked rice in jars with water, obviously, and they'll speak life or a positive word over a couple of them, negative over a couple of them, and then they'll completely ignore another one. The one they ignore turns black, and the one that they speak negatively, mold starts to grow, and the ones that they talk positively to, nothing really happens. So my mom, way back then, would be like, don't talk to your water like that. I'm ugly. I hate myself. Don't talk to your water like that. You're stupid. Don't talk to your sister's water like that. So she was really instilling that into us at a young age, which probably made me more open to, by the time I came around to Joel Osteen, I Declare, I was like, I think my mom was teaching me this.
Yeah.
And then, then we go to the Tony Robbins and the Jay Shettys and Lewis Howes. Then we go to the Joe Dispenzas, and then I'm like, okay.
Right.
And I love science and like philosophy and all that good stuff. And those people are very good at tying evidence. I don't need evidence, but I love when the evidence is there.
Right.
To like practices. Back to Cuckoo Cuckoo, pinecone pineal gland. So I can't remember if I'm saying it right, but we're going to just stick with that. Pineal gland is this tiny little part of your brain that, I'm going to butcher this, sorry, Joe, but it's this tiny part of your brain that over time, mostly because of what we consume within our bodies, calcifies, and then we don't become as aware of certain things, realms, if you will.
Okay.
We just become hardened. And so does this part of our brain. And so through meditation and also eating a certain type of way and things like that, you can kind of start to decalcify your pinecone, your pineal gland.
And when the pineal gland?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but
whatever. Yeah. We might be just making a fool of ourselves,
yeah.
But
pineal gland, pinecone.
So when that decalcifies and opens you up to different realms, like what's the benefit of that, or like what's good about it?
I think it's just the high vibration is easier to get to. So like when you're in a meditative state and you have to go through this whole daunting long process, and we look at monks and these people who have these very consistent, in-depth meditative practices, and they seem to just be able to snap right in. More than likely their pinecone is decalcified.
I see. So learning how to meditate is one process of decalcifying that?
Yes.
Okay.
Or now we're going to probably get into some conspiracy theories, but they're not conspiracy theories, guys. There's proof now. Okay. So, but like remote viewing.
Okay, yeah.
That is also related to all of that part of your brain.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
And okay, is that something that you're actively trying to do?
No.
Okay.
Girl, who has the time? But it's so cool to me.
Right.
It's so cool to me. And honestly, I'm such a curious person. I'm glad that the rest of my body is so, for this one specific thing, it's probably good that I don't have the energy to pursue that, because I would jump down the rabbit hole and be like Alice in Wonderland, like, oh, I'm remote viewing, like, all these things, and I'm just gonna live in my meditative state.
Right. So are you saying it's like more difficult to be like present in your like physical experience, or
like currently?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's more so because so I think one thing that I've learned about myself, which is, I ponder this a lot, of how we are ourselves, yet we have to get to know ourselves.
Right.
Make it make sense. I am me, but who is she? You know? She seems cool.
Right.
But, we're always getting to know ourselves and then developing ourselves like we're a hobby. Some people don't. And it shows. And they're oblivious too, which is crazy. But one thing that I have realized about myself is, whether it be a coping mechanism that I've built up, or safety, or just so that I can go through life with the physical pain that I deal with on a daily basis, I tell people I kind of like, me, myself, my personality, who I am, kind of like lives over here, so that I don't identify with my pain in every waking moment. Because if I did, then who I am as a person would be very different. So, like, when I talk about my health, it's very secondary in my narrative. Now, when I talk about my health and people are perceiving me and are experiencing me talking about my health, I'm sure that they think that, like, this is the girl that talks about her narcolepsy, or like all those things. However, in my daily life and experience, it is very secondary. It's obviously very relevant, but I definitely kind of like live outside of myself, and then I will find myself snap back in and be like, okay, wait. If you're around me enough, you'll notice when this happens.
When you're switching out.
Yeah.
Of those two.
People are going to be like, she's dissociating or something like that. Maybe it's a form of that. But I think it's kept me safe from a certain life that I definitely have access to, given like if I paid attention to how I'm physically feeling right now, right? I can feel almost every vertebrae in my spine, and I'm so exhausted.
Oh my God.
So, and like my little bone, like my ankles hurt and are swollen and things like that. But 10 out of 10 times, I'm never thinking about that, usually until I'm like, it's the end of the day and I'm like laying in bed in it. Don't know if that was completely what you were asking me in terms of if I live outside of myself. But I do live outside of myself, and it is in that way. Other than that, I'm pretty present with people. So, and now I'm on a tangent.
No, it wasn't a tangent. I feel like it's so funny. I feel like people say tangent, but I'm like, what is a tangent in a conversation? Like, that's, I don't know.
We're on a podcast.
It's the road we're on.
And I'm like, what about you? What about you?
Yeah. Girl? Wait. Okay. So first off, before that, like, that makes so much sense to me, because I'm kind of just like on hypnosis TikTok, which is like kind of adjacent to all this other stuff that we're talking about. And it's interesting that just in general, I feel like the the kind of macro concept of like, just because the scientists don't have the data that the practitioners know doesn't make what the practitioners know illegitimate.
Yeah.
It just means that the widespread knowledge hasn't been tested with the rigor necessary to be convincing for people who are not practitioners. And so all of this like spiritual knowledge that Joel Osteen has, because he's been entrenched in it for however many decades, like he gets it. And yeah, maybe the way in which he says it is only relevant to these people, these like Christian, specific kind of Christian people, and it wouldn't work for Muslims or super like skeptical people or whatever. But like you, for instance, are going to reach different people with the same knowledge and just frame it in a different way. But it's the same truth. It's just packaged in a different way. And that's what we need. That's why every artist is important. That's why every podcast is important. That's why every social media platform is important. Because every single person has family that they're going to be able to convince or talk to or be in a relationship with that like a big celebrity may not be able to convince or whatever. But all that to say is back to the hypnosis conversation. I'm listening to these like, you know, people like Tim Ferriss. So like a very respected, like smart, intelligent, like has the respect of a lot of like legitimate people. Had an interview with a hypnotist,
like a hypnotherapist, type person.
And he was talking about the efficacy of hypnosis on pain and how it should really be the first line of defense when it comes to like treatment, because it's free. It is easy and simple and effective. And it's like, you can kind of get into the like, well, of course people aren't going to want something that, of course there are people who are in a lot of power who wouldn't want to mobilize.
Like, hey, everybody, go get this free.
Go heal yourself. Like,
go tell your brain to stop hurting.
Yeah, of course they're not going to want that. So, but he basically, I forget the exact thing, but he was in a hospital. Some woman was in pain. They did a hypnosis session, and the pain subsided.
It's a similar kind of argument as to why sometimes placebo, like the placebo effect happens on people. So I've done clinical trial research for narcolepsy, been hooked up to all the things, overnight stays for days on end where they study my brain and all of these different things. And when you go in, basically they tell you, we're going to give you the drug, which may or may not be the drug. And you just have to tell us how you're feeling. Now, it's not all the time, right? Sometimes there's just drastic changes with these medications. I'm very proactive, right? So I'm going to go dabble and see, research on my own about the hypnotherapist and see what's available there. I'm going to look into the supplements. I'm going to go see the naturopathic doctor. I'm going to look into the Chinese medicine. And then I'm going to go to my Western medicine doctor. And I'm going to get the MRIs done. And I'm going to be on Adderall. And I'm going to figure that stuff out, right? And find what works for me and adjust as needed. Yeah, like on whatever basis, right? When I was... So basically, like, I'll make this part very short. I was, born completely healthy, more or less. And then when I was 10, I was bit by a tick and I contracted chronic Lyme disease. When at the time, every doctor that I went to said Lyme disease didn't exist. So I went 2 years undiagnosed with nothing. They were like, are you depressed? Do you have anxiety? My list of symptoms was 2 pages long. I could not walk, barely. Couldn't walk up and down stairs, couldn't wash my own hair, couldn't hold a book up to read. I was convulsing, all this crazy stuff, right? My mom was begging, please. She's a very smart person, right? And in the meantime, she would tell me that even if my body completely gave out, that I always had my mind. And that if I could harness the power of my mind, because my mind controlled my body, that I could alleviate, to whatever degree, right? I could alleviate some sort of, at a minimum, mental heartache and pain.
Sure. At least you can control your perspective, if
My
not your physical
perspective,
pain.
right. And so that's what I started doing at 10, 11, 12. I was not supposed to be able to really be an active human being in society at all. That diagnosis was the baseline of a multitude of other things that came afterwards. There are people that have a fraction of the diagnoses that I have that we connected with very early on that have like passed away.
Wow.
So, and I'm not saying that to say in any way, you know, that my treatment was better or anything to that degree. If anything, it's really just to put emphasis, even more emphasis on what you were just saying about how we actually have access to our own brain. And our brains are computers and computers are programmed. The only difference is we kind of let our brain program itself, and then we don't go back in and rewire it properly. Now that there's more accessibility to things like therapy and things like hypnotherapy, all these different modalities, we're learning more about meditation and breath work and do a cold plunge and how this affects the brain, and you're creating new neural pathways, and you can be your brain can be fully developed and you can still create new pathways in your brain. You know, this is really groundbreaking stuff. I'm preaching to the choir. I need to do all these things. I'm like, create new neural pathways.
Right.
Magic school bus type stuff, you know? But yeah, love rabbit holes about all of the neuroscience and cuckoo chew stuff. That's real stuff now.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how, I don't know, it makes me kind of just like reconsider what I think I know or what I don't know, or things that I judge or don't judge. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I strive to simultaneously like have a very strong stance on things that I care about, but there's an undercurrent of like, I 100% could be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we could find something out in 5 years where I'm like, oh, actually I was the idiot. Like, I just didn't see. I couldn't see, or I didn't know, or whatever. And I feel like I'm kind of coming to a lot of that right now in my life. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I always think about these times in history where it's like cigarettes come out and it's smoking's good for you. Right. Smoke inside the house, smoke on a plane.
Smoke by a baby.
Or my grandfather was telling me that ketchup was a medicine at first. And I was like, oh, interesting. You know, so we go through these interesting, we're just humans trying to pretend like we know stuff.
Yeah, we really don't.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like getting in touch with your intuition is a really important thing to do, because that's really the actual truth, you know, or at least the truth for you in that moment, like what you need to be doing or where you should be going.
Yeah. Intuition's a muscle too, which is an interesting concept that goes back to we are ourselves, yet we have to get to know ourselves.
Right. Like just as much as getting to know someone else.
More.
But more intense.
More.
And we're also constantly evolving and taking in new inputs.
Yeah, and also it's like inner child Pearl, whatever she was told as a kid, this is what you should be when you grow up, and you think that that is what you are supposed to be, that's your desire.
Right.
Then at some point, you're like, wait a second, I'm miserable in my whole life and every facet domino effect of other parts of my life. Not saying that was at all your experience, right? Sure. But this is a very common experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people blink and then they're like, oh, wait a minute. I think I was told that. I think someone told me you should be a basketball player. And I was like, okay. And actually, I want to go study caterpillars in the rainforest. You know? So the fact that we're so moldable and no one teaches us, hey, even like, you know, we can't help who our parents are or who raised us or some of the environments that we're put in, right? Or scenarios. But there's not anyone telling us, hey, just make sure you work out your intuition muscle. Hey, make sure you try to get to know yourself. Here's how you do that.
Right.
Here's how you pay your taxes. Also, like, also. But, like, here's how you do calculus. That's what they want us to know. Right. Here's how you do calculus.
Right.
We're like, I think I should know how to develop myself to be myself.
And I mean, I feel like children also intuit that as well. We're all like, why does this matter? Like, why are we getting graded on this, you know?
Children are such interesting examples of what it means to be a person because we come out inherently spongy, monkey see, monkey do, yet we already know ourselves. I want to be an astronaut right now. Don't care about anything else. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to be this. And that can change on the fly. But the beauty in all of that is society tells us that we can't switch it up after a certain point. But that's just a bunch of scared people telling us to be scared with them. I don't come from a family of scared people. No one in my immediate family went to college. My grandfather went to be a congressman. My dad runs a company with like hundreds of employees with a, high school diploma. Like these are self-taught people who decided they were going to do something and did it. And I think I have a lot of conversations with people outside of music. They're like, what made you want to do music? And I was like, I was given permission to do whatever I wanted to do. And when I told the people that love me the most that it was going to be music, they were like, awesome. If I said that I wanted to be a dentist, they'd be like, awesome. If I said I wanted to be a dentist tomorrow, they'd be all about it, So
that's beautiful that there was like fertile ground for that strength in you, which I'm sure there were negatives to that as well. And and I think kind of similarly to what you were talking about with the pain, like whatever you focus on or pay attention to, like is the thing that I think will be the like center narrative of how you see your life. Like not that you're ignoring like the dark side of whatever that fertile ground was, but like I don't know. I think as I age, at least too, when I think about my life, I'm like, oh, without that thing that I hated so much, I wouldn't have that other thing that made me who I am.
But you only think that way because of your personal development.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we only, like, in empathy, like, some people, and there are also people who don't believe this is a thing. Some people believe that empaths are traumatized people, right?
Like they're paying attention to everybody else instead of,
And then there are people who are like, someone's baby just popped out and they're empath. Okay.
Right.
So, but empathy regardless of if you're a self-proclaimed empath, I'm an empath, empathy, to be empathetic, is also a muscle, similar to intuition. And to strengthen your empathy muscle is to strengthen your discernment muscle and to strengthen your intuition muscle and to strengthen the differentiation muscle that connects all these threads, which is this fear or is this truth? Is this, am I afraid or is this just the truth?
Right.
For a very long time, a handful of years, mostly during the pandemic, my personal mantra was that I wanted to have great wisdom and discernment, but be able to tell the difference of when I was just afraid to say no to something or to say yes to something, or when I was like, this is a hard no, whether I had like a logical reason or not.
Right.
When it comes to how we're raised, when we're reflecting on that and we've built up these muscles, right? Our discernment, our intuition, this determining factor of, am I afraid or am I just like have good instincts finally? Empathy towards our parents and their decisions. That's where like maybe where resentment once was held in like a basket in our brain starts to kind of like unravel, and then empathy starts to come into the picture, and we're like, oh, you know, my parent was raised this way, and monkey see, monkey do, and now but the positives were this. So yeah. Anyway, okay, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, let's just sum up all of that beauty into blah 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 blah
Pearl
blah.
and I need our own podcast because
no, I mean, when I hear you talking like this, I know, even though I know, and you just told me that you've been through an immense amount of physical pain, and obviously there's probably emotional pain and lots of other pain. I feel like the younger somebody is, I feel like if you were 95 and you were talking about like this, I'd be like, that checks out, right? Because you're 95, right? But being a young person and talking like that, I feel like wisdom is the response to pain, is a response to pain. And I feel like the deeper that someone can speak about this sort of like reflection process and like alchemy process and like empathy for both yourself and others, like radiating out into other people, like I feel like that is also the light side of pain as a concept.
Yeah.
Because when you're in so much misery, you're like, I gotta find a way out of this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stay here. And the danger of the middle is just being a mediocre.
Pain is a catalyst.
It's a catalyst. It's a huge
catapult.
catalyst.
It's a catalyst. And now, in what way and where is the question?
Right. And you get to decide that.
And we decide. So, yeah, thankfully. And there's been ebbs and flows in that journey, right? And I'm in a ebb. I'm in like the middle part of a flow. Like I'm in the part of the, like we're on the roller coaster going up before we have the fun part where it's like, yay. In terms of just like, because everything reflects everything else in our lives. So like when my health is not the best, I feel like my career is not the best. And when I feel like my career is not the best, I'm like, my relationships aren't the best. And I'm not calling my mom as much. I talk about my mom all the time, but I'm not talking to the people I love as much. I'm not going out and experiencing the world like I would like to. And then I have to, okay, self, who am I? What do I actually desire? What's going on?
Yeah.
And is my body responding to something that I didn't address at XYZ point? Because that's the other thing about like our brains is it's kind of like when you come from a trip and you're so exhausted and you have all this luggage and you just like take a nap and then you wake up from the nap and it's the it's the next day and you have life happening and your luggage is still there. And you're like, I have to unpack that.
Right.
And then eventually it's like, I don't have anything to wear. I wore all the stuff that was left.
Yeah.
I need clean socks. So you go and you start unpacking all of your clothes and you're like, okay. And then you're like, wait a minute, where is the blow dryer? And then you're like, oh, it's in that other suitcase. It's that continuously through our lives, right? And so I'm just in a really fun place. And I've been very emotional, which I'm not. I'm an emotional person. Sure. I love emotions. I love the human experience. But I am a emotionally stable person. My whole life, I've been pretty emotionally stable, I would like to say. Last few months, the tears, the crying. And then I'm like, why am I crying? Don't even know why I'm crying. But I'd never really cried before. So I'm like, oh, dang, this buildup has been crazy.
This build-up's been crazy.
This build-up's been years. Now she cries all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's hilarious. And
I'm just trying to embrace it.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend's like, you're just evolving. Like, you're just cracking out of the cocoon and it hurts. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah. I think embracing the inevitability of the ebb and flow of life, I feel like is very challenging for everybody. Like, nobody wants to be at the bottom. And it's like, there's so much resistance to the bottom.
Yeah.
That it keeps us there for longer than we're meant to be.
There's more resistance to the top, I think, actually. We love the little, like, what's it called? The layover. We love a layover.
Say more.
We love a airport, what's it called? Those bougie airline, like,
like a lounge?
Like a lounge. We love an airport lounge in our life. We love a free food. I'm going to talk to a bunch of cool strangers that want to know what I'm doing in life. Ooh la la, I'm on a trip. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. Then you are like, where am I going? And then you're like, oh, I don't remember where I was going. And then you're just like, where am I? I think I have to go back to wherever I was. No! We love an airport lounge. We love a middle ground. We love a comfy, cozy, I'm going to have a margarita in an airport lounge.
Right.
The top doesn't exist. So the resistance to the top is that there is no top. And when you fall to a bottom, there's a bottom. There's a destination that you land in. The top is a open, infinite possibilities of change and wondrous. But this always is a
solid
place.
Ground.
And you can stay there. And you can like have a couch and you can have a TV and you can like look up and be like, oh, it looks nice up there. But we love a lounge. We love a little place where it's like, I'm going to work the corporate job. I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to have the picket fence. I'm going to, you know, take a vacation a year. I'm going to save the money.
We're like, I guess
I'm going to have
this
the
is
car.
The top now.
You're like, this is it. Okay, cool. That's awesome. The lounge is great. For most people, I think that is the top. For people like us, we see planes go off while we're in the lounge. We're like, wait a second, people are going out there into the sky. Where are they going? I want to go. Wait, I have bags. Quit talking to me. You're distracting me. Take this drink away.
Right.
You know? And then we're like in the airport, we're like, where am I going? What next flight am I on? So, and you know, like there's pivots. There's been a huge pivot in my life in the last couple years with coming back to LA, and I'm in a beautiful relationship with someone. And I'd come to terms with like, okay, Gen Z doesn't get married.
Mm.
We're not those people.
Sure.
Found my person, love him to pieces. It is totally an alive entity, our relationship, that is, we have to care for, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then my career goals have shifted and evolved, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. How
I'm like, this airplane's scary. It's got some turbulence up here. So it's changed in the sense that a lot of the goals are the same, but where I once had a timeline, it's like diminishing into vapor. I'm like, ah. And 30 is looming. Not that I'm not ageist to anybody else, but then when it comes to me, I'm like,
you're just self-ageist.
I'm like, ugh.
I feel like that's most people. No, actually, there are some real ageist people, but everyone's self-ageist.
Yeah, I'm just like yeah. 30. I remember when my mom was 30.
That's crazy. I don't remember that.
My mom had 3 kids by the time she was my age.
That's wild. Yeah.
Said with like wow, superhuman.
That's insane.
I could never.
Yeah.
I can barely handle this dog.
I mean, also, yeah, they just had different
totally
things.
Different world, not even the same planet.
So wild. Yeah, literally completely different
not even
planet.
the same like seasons of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, it is interesting, like accepting that for whatever reason the I like to cook, so like the thing that always comes to mind is like meat marination. But I'm like, you know, everyone's like, I want to be thinly sliced, pre-marinated bulgogi, you know? And it's like cooks fast, everybody loves it. It's delicious. There's sugar, there's salt, like fire. You just can't pick what cut of meat you are. And if you like, you get to decide or you get to discover like your marination time. And life tells you when it's time to be cooked. You know, you say, I'd like to have this, I'd like to be, you know, shredded and melt off the bone or whatever. And then life tells you, okay, that's going to take 10 years for you, or that's going to take 5 years from you. But however long it takes, if you actually go through the marination process, it's going to be fire. It's going to be fucking fire.
Chef's kiss.
It's going to be mwah.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's like, people are like, you could put this in the fridge for 2 hours, or it could be 72. It could be 72 hours. So it's like, I feel like people who are so, including myself, I'm just talking my past version of myself. It's like, if you want it to go fast, you're going to be tough and not tasty. And it's like, just like, everyone wants to have the 72-hour meat. Nobody wants to have flash fried shit. Yeah. You know? So.
Yeah. So true.
And even bulgogi people, they might have other problems that we don't see. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you bulgogi people better tell me your problems.
Like, they probably don't even have a bowl or no rice or no green onions. No rice. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I've been marinating. And while I've been marinating, I made my own porcelain bowl. The chopsticks are unbreakable, made out of gold.
Where they take broken ceramics?
Oh, yeah. The Japanese
definitely.
Thing. You got a lot of gold in there.
She's shining.
She's shimmering. She got me a solid gold bowl.
Yeah. Girl.
No, I get that.
I got bits and pieces of other bowls and everything, probably.
Sounds like a really, really pretty, unique bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget what it's called, though, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess, how does music fit into all this?
Yes. Okay, so music is soul food. Go back to food. Bulgogi. Music is soul food. Music is something that happens whether we like it or not. Music is happening now in this room. These plants are making music. We just can't hear it. Vibrational frequencies. Cuckoo, cuckoo. So, Music has always been in my life. I was the cute little girl performer in church. And then I was the cute little girl performer at civic events when my grandfather was on the road campaigning. And I was a dead ringer for Shirley Temple, and I knew all the songs, and I thought that was me in the movies, like ringlets.
Wow.
So I always wanted to perform and sing. And I come from a family of performers and singers. So my mom is a classically trained violinist and vocalist. And then my dad was in the punk rock scene. So
it's in the blood.
It's in the blood, right? So I guess where like my family becomes even more crazy is when I was able, after I recovered enough to be a functioning human, I basically went to my mom at 14 years old and told her I wanted to pursue the industry for real, for real. And she was like, okay, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And I was like, okay. And the rest is history, a long history, almost a decade, and which has felt like longer. Music comes into all of this in a variety of different ways and for different reasons. I believe that music chooses you as a career, and anyone who thinks otherwise shouldn't do music or doesn't do music.
Yeah.
The reason I say this is entertainment in any form as a career is
super easy.
It's just
easy flowing.
It's just like
the straight and narrow path.
It's just literally like
full of people who are for you and you alone.
In community.
Supportive.
So much community.
Yes. Especially LA.
Yeah. LA is actually
tight knit.
Yeah, we're actually a huge family.
Yeah. One big huge family. Oh my god. I want to cry. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't cry, because then we might actually start crying.
Oh my god.
When music chooses you, you're like, it's like when you get bit by a vampire and then you're a vampire.
You're just a vampire now.
And now you have to live in the dark and you're like, I have to adapt to society. You know? It's like that.
It's the same thing.
And there's people, what are they called? Don't ask why I know so much about vampires. I watched too many like movies. They're called familiars, the people who want to be vampires.
Oh.
But they're not. And they just work for the vampires and they find them bodies and stuff.
There's a lot of those in LA.
Then there's those people.
Yeah.
And we're like, you've not been chosen, you know?
You've not been.
Music has not chosen you.
But sometimes those people are the like successful ones, you know?
But that's for other reasons.
Yes.
Pearl.
Right. It's not because they're an actual vampire.
Right. Music didn't choose them. Someone else chose them.
Yeah, they just put some teeth
There's
on
a difference,
them,
guys.
coat.
Yeah, let's just So when music chose me, that was something that happened before I was born. Right? And then I went through the journey of like art fodder, of like the inspo for the first project, which was health, all health related. It was my album, the first 10 songs that I ever wrote was all about I won't break. All these giants like are gonna crumble and I'm gonna overcome it all, but like in a fun pop way. As a teenager in Indiana. People loved it. We need more music like that. But now, you know, music, as many times as I'm like, please God, tell me to be a dentist now, please. It looks so stable over there. You're just buzzing, cleaning people's teeth. They look so happy.
Well, that dentist is the profession of choice.
That's always the one that I pick. I don't know why.
Mine
forever.
Is nurse.
For years and years, dentist. There's no dentist in my family.
I'm dead.
You know? Don't know why. My whole family's entrepreneurs. It's just like,
interesting.
Not, but I'm like, please, any day now, just hit me with that stick. You're a dentist now. But no, I'm still over here like in the like, I want to make music, you know? So, dude, Tiana's gonna make fun of me. Shout out Tiana. Tiana's gonna be like, Keta. But that's how I feel about music. And when it comes to like music and my spirituality, or just, we won't even call it spirituality, music and being a human being in my experience, I think that music has shaped me in a way, making music, connecting with people, being a songwriter, in a way that if God gave me like, and I don't think this is how it goes, right? But let's say we're all in heaven and we're all like little light babies and we're like, la, 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 la. Spirit orbs with Jesus or God or whoever you like to call him. He's Jesus, by the way. But anyway, we're like up there with Jesus and he's like, hey, you see all this down there? You can go down there and make... And I'm like, I don't want to go... I definitely was like, I don't want to go down there. It looks grungy. She's dirty down there. And he was like, but you can make music. And I was like, you can work with the artists and connect with creative.
I love Jesus's voice.
And I'm like,
but you can make music.
But you can make music. You know, you might have to. And then we don't know any better. We're just up there floating around and we're like, oh, this is cool. And we're so consistent in our just experience. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. And he's like, yeah, and I'm like, can you just like show me some stuff I might need? Like, what's it look like? And then he's showing me my whole life story. And I'm like, easy. And now I'm like, you have to convince me to come down here with all these familiars who want to be vampires. And they're the ones getting deals. That's how I feel about music.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what God used to convince me to be like, down here with you guys.
Down here.
I'm just waiting. No, I'm kidding. But I love making music because that is when I feel the most like myself. That's the only time that I feel like I'm actually in my body as myself with another person. We're creating something out of nothing. I love that. I love being struck by inspiration and making something out of nothing. I love anything that makes me feel like I'm connecting to something bigger than myself. But music is one of those things that is just so divine and spiritual for me. Like I said, I talked about the plants, but like the rocks and the stars, and we are just always vibrating, which is a frequency, and it's always happening. And so the fact that we get to make music as a career, and that was, you know, here you go. Like, this is the one, this is the card that you were, these are the cards you were dealt. I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want a different destiny. I'm so humbled that I was chosen to experience what it is to make music as a career on a consistent basis. I don't think you need to have a career in music to make music and music be your like purpose and calling for that to be the case. But I do love the fact that that happened to be the case with me.
Right.
And it is probably one of the only reasons that I'm functioning.
I feel like that experience of knowing that music chose you is one, I think the common explanation for everyone who was chosen by music, who was really supposed to do it. And it's interesting because I feel like the reason that music chooses, my inkling is that the reason that music chooses people isn't because necessarily or only because there should be music that comes out of that specific vessel. Yes, that's part of it. But I find that typically people who are in music in that way, it's like, it's because music is the best like conduit for becoming for that person. Like it challenges that specific person in a way that being a dentist wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's why music chose you, because
Yeah.
the nature of music, and specifically with you, music as a career,
Yeah.
you need that to become who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not just about the music, or maybe even at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just about you becoming.
Yeah.
And music just happens to be the thing that you get to do.
It's kind of morphing. What I didn't realize was I've been putting myself into actually a very small box for a majority of my life, specifically career-wise. And it's been mostly music related. And over the pandemic, that got cracked wide open. And it really turned into music is at the top of that food pyramid, okay? But it is really creativity and storytelling and expressing the human experience in whatever format.
Sure.
So like, and just like conversing in different ways.
Yes.
And shifting and shocking and like giving a little zhuzh to environments and things like that. So now I'm dabbling in things like creative direction in generally speaking, or I've always loved artist development in its totality, but I love strategy. I think it's an art form. Business strategy is an art form.
Absolutely.
If you love that, it's like painting. Things like that. Or I have ideas for shows and movies now. And I'm like, my brain would never. Because I would be like, that's going to distract me from the music thing.
Right.
Like, your box is build a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Don't be in the lounge.
Yeah.
Don't be in the airport lounge.
Yeah.
You know, don't make the studio an airport lounge, Keta. The studio could be a film studio or corporate America. Hey, let's do a corporate retreat. Let me organize it and plan it and make it so much fun and amazing, change people's lives. I think I just want to impact humanity through art as much as possible. Music is obviously, that is my, if I did have to pick one, it would be that.
Yeah.
But it's becoming a much more
robust.
Yeah, like just creative.
Yeah.
Like visionary.
Yeah.
Creative genius.
Creative genius. I mean, it is. It's a genius.
Yeah, yeah.
That guides you
100%.
in a way that only you can do. And yeah, no, I just threaded the other day, like, it's a good day to be your own muse.
It's so fun.
Every day is. I like recently saw that Kaylani posted a photo dump of like, it was like her surfing, her cutting somebody's hair, her doing like a floral arrangement, and it's like there's somebody who's at the a high level of musicianship who's doing all these other things and not being limited in that way. And we think that our other passions are going to distract us when it's probably the thing that will actually get us there faster is by actually just being the fullness of who we are in all of its different manifestations.
I love juxtapositions of things. I love my New Year's resolution, the only one I've ever kept, back in like, it was during the pandemic, was that I was going to be myself all the time.
Fire.
Because my first few years in LA, it was very much
not that.
Turn it on and off, kind of.
Right.
And I've stuck to it, and it's been amazing. And realizing how smart I am and how much I was watering myself down and forgiving myself for all of the years of doing that and having to like comfort my inner child that's scared of being cuckoo.
Right.
And not in a cuckoo way.
Yeah.
But like some people, it might not be the vibe.
Right. Some
people's pine cone might be a little too calcified. Okay? And that's okay. That's all right.
That is all right.
But the ones who will receive it will receive it. And I challenge I've been waiting to do this. Break the fourth
Tell
wall,
'em.
right? I challenge people to embrace the vibrancy of the totality of their personalities, because I think we attach ourselves to a career or a place or a culture or a really it's mostly those things.
Sure.
Our education, all these different things. And like who are you?
Right.
Who are you? I don't care where you went to college. You're 45. When did you go to college? That was a long time ago, sir.
Right.
You know?
I always say, specifically with lemon cake, this is a point.
Oh.
That I just feel like when I eat lemon cake, I'm like, this tastes like white cake that has like the very lame scent of a lemon rind.
Oh.
And I'm like, I literally hate this. Like when I eat a lemon cake, I want it to punch me in the face. Like I want to be like,
where's the cake?
Up,
I just want a lemon.
I want it to be lemon-y. I don't want this half-ass, bitch-ass lemon cake.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are going to be some people who like the watered down version of the cake because what they actually like is funfetti and white cake and all this other bullshit cake. But I'm like, if you're lemon cake though, you need to find the people who are like, I want to pucker up. So if you don't really be who you are, you'll never find it. And then you'll feel bland. They won't like you. No one will like you. Just blah.
Yeah.
So it's like, just be your flavor. Be whatever flavor you fucking are.
Have the audacity to do it.
Have the audacity. Even if you're bone marrow, time cake, somebody's going to like that. Whoa. It's not going to be me. Maybe it's only going to be 4 people. But if that's really who you are, you need to be a bone marrow ass cake.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
But you know that you're not bone marrow. You're just really cool.
Yeah, it's just like the vibrancy, the duality of all the, like, I can be smart and creative.
Right. A couple of things?
That freaks people out.
Yeah.
That freaks people out. And being young, okay, let's take the young out of it, okay? Being physically
being youthful?
Youthful.
Being hot.
Okay,
sorry.
Yes, but yes.
Being conventionally attractive. Okay.
Being an attractive female with a personality that's approachable. I think I'm funny, okay? So I think I'm funny, guys.
Funny, gorgeous.
Funny. But I think I'm funny. Funny.
Right. Already a little too much for me, but funny and gorgeous. Top it off with creative.
Hyper creative. Always creative. The ideas never stop. Like, please let me tell you my ideas. Please.
Insanely creative.
Somebody take ideas from me and do them. Because they're just sitting.
I'm about to make art fodder a complete merch line. So I'm taking that from you.
Slay. Let me know how I can help, please.
Yeah.
ADHD, I get bored easy.
Okay, cool.
Add smart. And people are like,
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I get it.
And empathetic. Ooh. Ooh. And try to have an intuition.
Yeah. Hopefully, the more vibrantly multifaceted the more people who are
Can I cut you off?
Cut me off.
Okay, so basically, this is my desire for myself and for everyone else who dares to have the audacity to be themselves in their totality. That they would repel the people who are small-minded. And that they wouldn't even have to, like, cut those people off or be like, ew, oh, ooh. You know? I just want the person to be like, oh, snap, like, I'm allergic to that. Bye.
Yeah. That 100% is like,
it's
the thing. Like, you don't actually have to
cancel people I attracted before, even in a dating sense, okay? The types of people, we're not even talking about physicality. The types, I don't miss dating at all. I'm so sorry for all of you people out there. Shout out, Edward, I love you. Thank you for your service. For your ministry. Okay.
For your ministry. Not ministry.
The types of people that would have the cojones to approach me, let alone that I would give the time of day of, God bless her, past me, God bless her. The transformation that has happened through healing so much trauma, where we have come out on the other side, in being myself, I don't get hit on at all. And I don't desire that, obviously, because I'm in a relationship.
Right.
But I'm like, awesome.
In a good way.
They don't even.
In a good way.
Don't try.
I fully believe that, honestly.
I'm like, you need to see me as a business person. I have my man. We're solid. Like, you can tell me my hair's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm built. I'm sick of hearing comments about it, guys. I have a mirror. My eyeballs work. 20/20 vision. It's 2024. We know. We know.
Obsessed.
Sometimes I've even been like,
no, obsessed,
I'm like,
period.
literally, I have, like, I know. You're like, damn, it's the.
You're like, congratulations on having
I'm like,
sight.
sir.
It's good for me to know that your senses are working.
Like, actually, this is like a funhouse mirror. You might need to go get your eyes checked. I'm flat as a board.
Oh, wait, what?
Nothing, bad joke.
Wait, okay.
Hey, if people catch it though, please comment below. like and subscribe. But basically, they stopped. And for a second, my insecurity, I was like, am I not cute anymore?
Right.
And then I was like, no. I prayed for this. And it has translated not just in the date, like in a
other ways, yeah.
attraction way. Mm-hmm. But I basically my desire is that people would see me for my value in business. And that's because I don't, I'm not in the dating pool. If I was, then it would be a little different, right?
Sure.
Because I would be trying to like.
But you would have different energy and you would invite different 100%. Things. So.
But I want to walk in the room with the same energy that I used to have where people were like drawn to me. But I want it to be because like, whoa, this is the one with the ideas.
Right.
This is the one that gets it done.
Right.
People want to be part of the stuff that I'm doing.
Right.
People want me part of the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the vibe. Mm-hmm. Those are the people, the opportunities. And if stuff's not happening, then that's because that like little incubation period, we're in the little
we're in that
marination still, just for a second.
Right.
I'm open to it. I mean, we need to wrap it up. Marination's getting a little crazy lengthwise, but hey, I've been open to it.
Marination's getting a little crazy lengthwise.
But I will say that the opportunities that have come since daring to be myself and that speaking into existence, I'm going to repel this type of person and it manifesting as such, the types of people that are coming into my life. Exhibit A. Okay. Are people who are going to speak life into me and be like, yes. No. I don't like yes men either because I'm not that person.
Right.
And the opportunities are even crazier opportunities are coming. And I can feel it. And that's probably why I'm crying. Because the other thing, and then again, I'm rambling, but
no,
this is like, what is it called? This is a bit. The place, I spent 4 years in Georgia, and it was like the last 4 years before my sisters became adults, and it was during the pandemic, and I hated it. I was miserable. I wanted to be in LA so badly. I moved on a whim to Georgia right before the pandemic because of a traumatic experience with a producer who told me I needed to prostitute myself to be successful. Shout out to whoever's in Diddy's camp. because it was someone in Diddy's camp that told me this to my face when I was very young. And I packed my stuff up and never looked back. And I was so like, what is happening, God? Like, what? This has been my whole identity.
Right.
And God was like, you'll never be here again, though. Your sisters will never be, once they're adults, they're adults. You're never going to live in your mom's house again after this. So just soak in the time with your mom being in her house. Soak in the time with my childhood dogs that like are angel babies now, right? Soak in the time with my siblings. So in reality, like when I'm in my apartment that I wish was 2 more bedrooms and so much more square footage, right? I'm like, okay, one day I'm going to be like, babe, don't you miss the simpler times?
Yeah.
When we were in that Silver Lake apartment and Winnie was just a little 5-pound piece of monstrous fluff.
Yeah.
You know? Because once it goes, the train don't stop, girl.
Yeah.
Because there's no ceiling.
Right.
You just hit more layovers. You just keep going.
I think that's really the secret to life, honestly. Like savoring the preparation and also knowing that the preparation is always for the next part.
Yeah.
And that goes on ad
infinitum. The title of this is going to be Prep Your Meat.
Prep your meat? Actually, though.
Dude, I'm just saying, it's like, it takes time, but when you realize that the time that you have in these moments, once they're gone, it's like the Indy 500, you're like, it's just gone.
It's like how parents talk about their babies, but we're also our own baby.
We're our own babies.
Like, no matter what stage it is.
I remember I was in my 20s and I was working my first corporate job in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's going to be me one day. She's not going to sound like that first off. And she's going to be drip. The drip is just going to be crazy. And my hair is going to be long as it is now and just so curly and like gray, white.
Maybe we'll do a podcast at that point and we'll do a side-by-side.
But there'll be holograms.
Right. I'm excited for our
holopod.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. What a pleasure. I'm excited for our future holopod. And just last thing, if people want to follow you, where can they find you?
My handles is that what they're called?
I don't think so anymore.
That's embarrassing.
I remember saying that and someone was like, they're not called handles. And I was like, oh.
My @ is Këta Jeaux.
How do you spell it?
KETAJEAUX. That's on Instagram. LinkedIn, it's not that, but it's Këta Jeaux McCue, MCCUE. Connect with me. Message me. Let's work. Let's collab. Get involved.
Incredible. I love. Thank you so much for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it, you can subscribe to Traklife Music and follow Pearls of Wisdom Pod on Instagram and on Spotify.